Grobbulus Dueling Tournament. We're about to get things started here today. Everybody grab your snacks, grab your drinks.
The duel is going to begin. He's going to start off with a charge here. He does put the hamstring down onto the warrior. They're going to be able to close the gap, getting the warlock very close right now to death. They're down to about halfway. The warrior's going to intercept back in, try to put the DPS down, getting him in execute range. The death coil maybe came out, but I don't. Did you guys see what happened to the death coil there?
Yeah, death coil was used there.
Yeah, they used death coil. Ended up fearing him for a bit. He actually used Will of the Forsaken on the Succubus Charm to be able to get out of that early. And then Zella did manage to pop Toep to try to get some good dot damage onto the warrior, but Death Coil wasn't enough to make a gap to create a dead zone for Zella to be able to kite him properly, and he just was able to close the gap and get an execute. And it looked like he did blow a sapper as well on that.
I'm interested to see what spec our warlock here is playing.
I feel like a lot happened during the course of that duel. I'm glad you guys picked up on some of that. That was just explosive. That once that felt like I saw the death coil right off the bat when it first had started, but it didn't feel like it lasted very long. It was just so quick, which I guess that's the essence of death coil in itself. Yeah.
Death coil was used very early.
Yep.
So one thing about this matchup is if you can create any space, it's very valuable because, as you know, that as time goes on, the more damage you are actually doing, and if you're not taking hits, then that's just a net gain. But from the Warrior's perspective, he did a good job of taking advantage of the fact that he was not running the Voidwalker. We do see the Voidwalker now. I like to see that, actually. I think that's going to help him out a little bit. That damage shield should give him enough time here. I do think Warlock is pretty heavily favored in this matchup, so let's see what happens.
And just to clarify, I did reach out to the Warlock. The Warlock is currently SM Rune. That is their spec.
Interesting. Okay, SM Rune. Okay.
Yep. So they are in a PvE spec, kind of an all-around spec for both.
It's general purpose. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you.
It kind of can do everything. It isn't a dedicated PvP spec like SL would be or like a Kun Flag spec would be, but
right.
It definitely can hold its own. But as you were mentioning, though, it's very important to create space between a warrior and yourself as a warlock. You want to just try to keep that dead zone going where he can't charge you, he can't intercept you, and you're just kind of kiting him around. That's where SM is actually pretty good because you do have access to Curse of Exhaustion, which is pretty huge to put on a warrior.
I like to see the Voidwalker. I think that extra cushion is going to be big. Succubus is a solid plan for a lot of other matchups, but is versus the warrior, and our versus undead.
Absolutely, yeah. And into undead, it's a really tough call to make. A duel has started, charge comes out, looks like hamstring's been applied. We do see a very early sacrifice there. Sacrifice is now down.
Yeah, he burned.
The sacrifice did not last long. Yeah,
he burned through it really quick. Got the charge back in again. Closed that distance. Zella's feeling the pressure right now, but Emin is too. Look at all those dots.
There's the pummel as well. Pummel has now been used. It looks like he's still going to be all right. Drain life comes out.
Oh,
wow.
Oh wait, what happened? What happened? Who won?
Who won?
I believe the Warlock took that one by a very small margin.
We're gonna
have to go to the replay for that.
We might need a replay.
I'll get on that.
I believe Warlock won that one, but I could be wrong.
I'm going on the replay. I got you guys.
Yep, good call. So one thing about this one here that I would like to see is there was a period of time where the Warlock didn't have Mortal Strike on him, and that's your opportunity to take advantage of Death Coil and get the full healing value out of it. Instead, waiting until after Mortal Strike was applied to Death Coil still serves the same function, but you don't get quite as much healing back from it. So
Emin did die first on the combat log.
I'm looking here at the replay just to confirm. Give me a second or two. Yep, Emin did die first.
So that is a tied series.
Series. Wow. Best of 3. It's going to come down to this one.
So at this point, Death Coil should be back up as well for Zella. So this is going to be a pretty even duel. I
believe he used it. I think he might have used it in the last duel, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't catch it if you did, but if you did, then it's going to be a lot harder.
Okay, yeah. That explains more then. So just seeing how quickly that Voidwalker sacrifice, went away, but the amount, it still made a difference there, I think.
Yep.
But it was gone like instantly.
Yeah.
It's just so much damage coming through.
That warrior, you can tell, is just geared, not just by appearance, but the amount of damage that comes out, the amount of consistent crits that we're seeing, because it was gone nearly instantly.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know Horde at all. He is using a rank 14 weapon, correct?
All right, let's check this out. Thank you.
That is the great sword.
Rank 14 two-hander. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's definitely going to be tearing through a void sack. Especially Zella is mostly raid geared. Looks like he's wearing T2 with rank 10 shoulders, probably rank 10 shoulders helm. I know that he has Neltharian's tier. I don't know if he's using it for this fight. He does have Staff of Shadow Flame as well. So he's more PvE sided geared, where Emyon is definitely full PvP geared, and it shows with how fast he tore through that shield.
Yeah, 100%. Warriors, I always feel they have a reasonable chance in this matchup just because they do have things like going for them that counter the Warlock directly. The Berserker's Rage. Oh, the duel's going to get started. He's going to charge right in, right away, starting to apply those dots onto the Warrior. They haven't torn through him just yet, but everything's on him. The Warlock's down to half HP. The Death Coil comes
There's the
out.
coil.
It makes him get feared for a second, not very long. The intercept comes down, closes the distance. The Sapper's going to connect, and the grenade as well, but it did not stun him. Looks like it was resisted. The Warlock getting him very low.
That's huge.
Oh, no.
Good heads up play from Zella to kite away from the Warrior, noticing that he was entering execute range. He probably had deep wounds on him or something of the nature, rend some damage over time ability from the Warrior, and just making sure to create that dead zone where the Warrior cannot intercept and just letting his dots do the work. And Zella is going to manage to take it 2-1 against Emyon.
That was a close duel. I like how close these have been, coming down to the wire in both cases. Part of me was rooting for the just the Warriors. You always want to see Warriors do well in the tournaments, because they're inherently not the number one dueler in a lot of ways. But that was so close. Like seeing Zella go on just as much. So yeah, good duel to both of you.
Definitely very close. Really tough matchup for the Warrior there. Obviously, Warrior has definitely a lot better chance with him playing SM Ruin. A lot more damage comes through. There's not as much mitigation. But we did see that the only game he dropped is the game that he did run that Succubus into Undead. I think he made the right call switching to Voidwalker there, and created a little bit more space. That duel, so much damage coming through, you have to just basically immediately find a way out. And in creating distance with Death Coil is pretty easy. So he took advantage of that. And we did see actually the Shadow Burn getting a lot of value out of that series as well. Just an extra source of immediate damage for him. Definitely like that as well. So good talenting overall. But yeah, when you're playing against Warriors, typically when you're Soul Link rather, it's a lot easier. You have a much easier time. But
very true. Yeah, Zella, for one, not being in much PvP gear, probably didn't have that much stamina. Was wearing T1, and T1 Warlock is littered with stamina, so probably bumped their health pool up a bit. But you're absolutely right. SL would have just been such a huge damage cushion for Zella. Would have been a lot more comfortable, and I don't think we would have seen as close of duels as we did between them.
Yeah, no, I like seeing the spec that he played. It definitely made it more interesting. Every white swing, I'm thinking to myself, like, he could die here.
You're absolutely right.
Well said, mate. And SL is banned. There's a couple things to reiterate or to go over there. Emon did have his grenade resist, so we were right, and the grenade did get resisted there. That made all the difference. You don't even need to be an orc, by the way. Like it's that sucks when that happens. That probably made the difference in that last particular duel. And just to clarify too, SL is banned. There's some different things that I was gonna go through with rules in the future potentially with warlocks, and mostly in the warlock versus rogue matchup, because there's no lap in the game right now.
Right.
So there's I wasn't sure how that matchup would go. We're not even going to see it today. We have no rogues in the tournament today, but maybe we'll have a lap by the time the next tournament's hosted, so I won't have to rethink the rules as I was going to do originally. But all right. Also, Emin, thank you for participating today. If you guys want to see more of him, great warrior player. Check him out. And good duels, both of you. The next duel is going to be between Verk and Spirit. And they are good to go. And whenever you guys are ready, and I'll whisper them too.
Keep in mind, Spirit is playing Palm Pyro.
Okay.
Palm Pyro.
Yeah.
I do also see he's got the Mark of the Dragon Lord, actually. A good choice there. Very rare item as well. Warrior and a mage here is definitely a little bit tricky. Looks like he's just getting some rage to get his battle shouts up. Really an uphill battle. Now, granted, looking at this Warrior's gear, if he connects, there's a very high likelihood that he can just win. I think the name of the game for the mage is just not getting touched here. So
Very true. Looks, yeah.
charge comes in, hamstring immediately. Goes ahead and free action potions the Nova.
No, man, there's no downtime in this fight. It is just raw DPS from both of these players.
Oh my goodness.
The warrior just overpowering him with the FAP, and you were seeing a lot of damage come out from Spirit, being the fire, that Palm Pyro spec you were saying, and he was almost enough to finish off the warrior. Maybe, who knows? Maybe that's a reasonable way to go about it. Just try to overpower him. And let him FAP and say, hey, one of us is going to go down fast. Now, sometimes you're going to see the safer play with the blink away sheep, try to dodge the pummel. But sometimes if that warrior actually ends up hitting the pummel, he's just going to overpower you regardless of you being frost or fire, whatever the case might be.
I think for me, if I'm the mage there, two options that come to mind: either just sit an ice block during the free action potion, or fake the pummel and then get the polymorph off. Without, you know that he doesn't have Skull of Impending Doom equipped because he's rocking the two-hander. So you really got to wait out that free action potion in that scenario. Otherwise, like I said, he's connecting on you without any slows, no novas, and he's just going to kill you.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the reset style of play. It was neat to see how close he got, really hoping for that big crit with the Palm Pyro, and having a reasonable amount of gear to back that up and assuring he might end up getting that crit. This is going to be duel number 2. You love to see a warrior go through. I thought this was going to be the one where, as far as my predictions, I was like, Mage is going to get this one, but this is fire, so the warrior has that little bit of advantage. The duel's going to start. He's going to get the charge down. They're back.
Hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, hate to see it. Oh no!
Oh no, the damage.
Oh, the ignite, the impact.
There's the intercept. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was
no. Oh no.
Spirit did say in the chat, he's like, I'm only allowed to backpedal. So he might have been memeing around, but I love it. He gave it, you know what? I respect it. He gave himself the handicap versus the warrior, and he just fought. I love it. I love it. I couldn't tell as much in the first duel, but that duel was glaringly clear. He was just backpedaling, but the damage was coming out. He almost had him. The impact proc came out at a perfect time, and he got the stun off. It's a fun spec to play with where you do have impact somewhere in the build. I really like the ignite barrier spec as a result, just having impact and ignite, and especially once you have your tier 2, having the ability to have a pyro is just a really big deal.
Yeah,
I'll have you guys note that my predictions so far are 100% accurate.
See, now that one messed up my predictions. Now I
had Zella, and I had the Dwarf Warrior winning. The next matchup, I think we have Mumbles versus Sect, and I have Mumbles winning this one, so we'll see how it goes.
We have Druid into Hunter, so I actually went ahead and picked the Druid here.
Oh, okay.
Couple of reasons why. In this matchup, Druids have pretty much a lot of control over the resets on this one. Looking at this Druid's gear as well, obviously has a large mana pool, which is what you need. Not a whole lot the Hunter can do if he plays the attrition battle, but it looks like the duel has started or will be starting shortly. Yeah, so the name of the game for the Druid here is just to stay alive and draw it out as long as possible. It shouldn't be that difficult of a job. Dodge the Fear Beasts to the best of his ability. Looks like he's going to get the stealth here.
A very good duelers, both these guys too, so this should be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Avoiding the trap is going to be ideal. And keeping that Abolish poison on himself just to deny the Viper's thing. Because, again, I in my eyes, this is an attrition battle. But we see the Moonfire and actually a good opener there with the Entangling Roots. I like that, actually. Deterrence has been popped by the Hunter, and we do see the Gift of the Wild, or sorry, Aspect of the Wild as well from the Hunter. So I do like that, denying a little bit of that nature damage. I think the majority of the damage here is going to be Arcane, actually, because there is the trap, okay?
He does stay out of combat, too, and he's able to get the trap down. He's refocusing the skeleton, realizes it has too much HP, goes back to the Druid, but the Druid's already out of the trap. Didn't last very long. Does have that DR. Not much, but still something. And he has the Hunter down to about 40% HP right now, but this Druid has a lot of beef left. He's sitting in bear form really well.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Hunter needs to get a reset here, but I don't think it's going to be possible. Just getting denied left and right. Good feral charge there. And that one's going to go 1-0 to Druid.
And something to note too, you might have been able to tell from the duel, perhaps. That, hey, you're finally getting your wish, Pat. You're getting your wish. Something to note too. Sex does like to play with a feral spec. He really prefers it over the other variants, the nature swiftness, the swiftman. He doesn't go full resto. He doesn't go heart of the wild. And nature swiftness. He's more feral. I don't know what he is from there, but yeah, that is something that he likes to play with a fair bit. Maybe we can ask him after this duel started. This is actually another content creator. If anyone wants to see it from his perspective, he is streaming it as well. Or if you want to wish him good luck, great druid though. But Mumbles has the potential to turn this one. Sex is being really good about just camping that bear form. You're not seeing him in Catalot. There's just not. He's not giving Mumbles the opportunity to catch him out of bear form and get a full reset and big aim shot wombo combo. And that's exactly how he's got to play it.
Exactly right, and I expected to see as much. Again, this fight is basically just attrition. See how long you can survive as the hunter. Again, I would like to see some more heads up plays from the hunter here. Force him out of bear form with the scare beast. If you land a scare beast, you get a reset. There's a lot of options here for the hunter. Take advantage of those traps a little bit. Swap your aspects a little bit more. You don't need the nature aspect 100% of the time, especially if you need to create some distance. Get yourself bandaged, or perhaps maybe get a drink and eat off. There's a lot of options for the hunter here. So he can control the resets in theory, but the damage that's going to come through with the druid that's got gear like this it's going to go quick. He doesn't have a whole lot of time.
All right, duel number 2 getting started here. Let's see if Mumbles can turn this one around. Opening up with something else this time, going with the pounce, the rip. No rake though, didn't have time for that just yet. But then does put down the insects with the moonfire as well, and charges back in and starts just whittling away at this druid. Now the viper's down on him, but I don't think the mana is going to matter. I think he's going to be able to just kind of burst him down in a sense. Maybe not burst, but whittle is a better way to put it here.
Yep.
Yeah. Druid walk.
The shot is going to manage to come off though. It's going to bring him down to about half HP.
He does get the out of combat reset. Okay, so what he does with this is very important. Switches to the aspect of the hawk. He's going to go ahead and go for the bandage here, which is good.
Almost lost sight of that for a second. Glad Milkstick could pick it up. This is exactly what Mumbles wants right now.
This is exactly what he needs. The feral charge does come out now. Looks like the NS does come out from the druid there, so he will be able to top himself here pretty quickly.
So, and I was wrong then in that one. This is I don't normally see Sex playing with the there's the frost reflector, but did it end at the last second perhaps? Because I swore
it looked like it timed out. Yeah.
Damn.
There we go. Good reset here from the hunter.
If there's one thing that I've learned about Sex fighting him in the world as much as I have here, I need to res to get over and see this. It's he is really good with his reflector play. 110%.
Ooh, big improved concussive shot. That's actually massive. Oh, and it's going to force a reset, but that Viper is taking Innervate now comes out. This has just become a very interesting game. Innervate really got not a whole lot of value from it. We see the mana just basically be back where it started from before he popped it in the first place. He's getting a reset now, though.
Oh, no.
He's going to be eating and drinking as well. They're both going to be healing up.
Okay. All right. So we have a full reset, essentially. Druid gets advantage. Ooh, this one's tricky.
It did. Now, I don't know if Mumble's pet is dead, but if it wasn't, you got to wonder, should he have been interrupting that eating and drinking? The Druid's going to Barkskin himself up and start damaging the Hunter again. The dots go down onto him. The Feral Charge is going to come down. The Hunter down to about half HP, just about. This is where it's going to get tough. He does get the trap out, but what does he try to reset again? I don't think he has that potential. I think he's got to go for the aim shot multi-play. He does get a couple of ticks of food in, goes for the big wombo combo here. Can we get a crit? Oh man, and he's still in bear form too. So just the hide of the bear just hiding so much of that damage.
Unfortunately, he could have taken that opportunity while the Druid was trapped in bear form to get a Fear Beast off, and that would have almost guaranteed a reset.
Oh, I love your thinking there, Milksteak. I'm glad you came in with that one. I would have loved to see that. And that might have made all the difference right now, because right now it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do much. He's playing on the back foot. He has the chicken summon. He tries to feign death. He does get the trap off.
Kitty bandage, one tick of bandage.
Come on! Oh,
oh, very close.
Very good try. I loved the effort. I would have loved to see that, Milksteak, because I don't know if I've seen that. in tournament play where the because Sex is good with a couple of things. He's good with camping his bear form and not allowing burst opportunities when he knows there's traps going to be coming out. So he's really good about camping that bear form. The other thing is reflector play. I've gotten reflected against Sex many a time, and you think there'd be a point where I start to anticipate it, but it feels like it happens so little. I just don't some of the time, and that was the same case here in this duel. He used that reflector play, didn't actually work out for him because it Mumbles did get the trap off. Whether it was because reflector can't resist, can it? It's guaranteed. It must have faded.
It can resist, I believe.
Can it? Okay, so it's possible it resisted even. Maybe we could ask Mumbles later if that was the case or not. But that is something I would love to see against druids that are good about camping bear form. When you trap and you get that full reset, putting the fear out, that's a really good idea, especially if you know that trap is DR'd from all the scatter shots and the freezing traps over and over again. So.
What I would have liked to see from the Hunter here is maybe not necessarily like I didn't see him go for it at all. And so if you start going for it, you start forcing the druid to actually get out of bear form, essentially, or what have you. If you threaten it enough, you force the other player to think for a second about how they actually proceed, because now they're looking out for it. Well, if you know how to exploit that, he could have gotten a lot more damage in catching him out of form, especially maybe getting a trap off when he's out of form. Now aim shot hits for 18,000 damage. It's much more favorable for the Hunter.
All right. Here, 1 second, friends. We're going to get this next one started. And as far as so in the rules, just to mention, to clarify, there is no Noggin Fogger play. There was, besides in Dispel combos. It's one of those where we're not using, the biggest reason that's a rule is to prevent mini. I don't like everybody running around as mini. Maybe there's part of me that should be like, there's Noggin Fogger used, no Noggin Fogger renewal. I don't think that needs to be done. It's one of those where the reason that we say no Noggin Fogger is because I don't like everybody running around as mini. Maybe I need to reassess if they should be able to for that skeletal form. I know that is it's a huge advantage, not being able to hide your bear form. But I know it's also such a natural way to play that I'm go for it. For this tournament, that's going to be fine. The other druid was asking about it. You can use the skeleton form if you want to for these duels for this tournament, and we can reassess and look at that in the future. What are your guys' thoughts, my co-casters? What are your thoughts on being able to use the Noggin Fogger in any matchup?
I think it's one of those things where in Dispel matchups it makes a clear competitive difference. You could argue for the druid too. It's more difficult to track shapeshifting when you've got Noggin. So I would argue that's also a competitive advantage, but it's kind of one of those things where it's never really bothered me a whole lot. Either do away with it entirely or allow it for everybody in every match.
At the end of the day, you can also hear shifts as well if you have your game sounds on.
True.
That's true, yeah, absolutely.
I knew every time he was shifting in and out of bear form because you could hear it. And exactly. You have that little puff of gray smoke that appears around the skeleton. So while it is difficult to see physically that he's in bear form or that he's in cat form or that he's in no form, you can hear it. And I don't think it's a huge advantage in that regard. I know it's a ridiculous advantage in Dispel matchups, of course.
For sure.
I think in the future, it has to be yes, we can use Noggin Fogger for everything, or no, we can't use Noggin Fogger at all.
I think
I agree.
That's probably a good idea.
We're going here, though.
Okay, this next duel.
We do have a duel here.
Oh, shit. All right, the next duel is going to get started between Dem and Karsus here. So Druid versus Mage matchup. It can be a really tough matchup for the Druid, for the Mage, just because, especially if you're Deep Frost, you can't really stick much damage to him. It does look as though he's minimally an Ignite Barrier spec at the very least. He might even be Palm Pyro by the looks of it. We'll have to inspect him and check after this one. The Blast Wave's going to come down. Nature Swiftness Healing Touch brings Sex back to full HP. The Mage is losing this one. This is how the Druid has to play it out. The longer drawn-out fight.
Medicine Pouch has been used as well. Mage already burned his grenade on a whiff. Druid struggling here right now. Actually, a lot of damage coming through from the Elemental Mage here. So let's see if he gets an opportunity here to actually reset himself.
Oh,
and he does not.
Gets it though.
He does get it at the end there.
Wow.
I actually thought the Druid I thought the mage was on the back foot. And it shows you that
Definitely.
explosiveness of that elemental mage, the power of when the crits come out and the ignite starts to really taking away at the opponent along with the original crit. You saw that there because I was sure Dem was playing that one correctly. He was spacing himself appropriately out there and just dotting away, just plucking away at the mage, and that's the way he's got to play. He wants these long, drawn out duels where he wins the long game. The mage is trying to get the burst down, especially in that elemental
Right.
spec, and yeah, both
Yep.
players play that one well.
I do want to outline something here. Demi, after the first, where he managed to range the Scorch at the beginning of the duel, he actually blew through a lot of his mana quick, obviously with NS heals and stuff like that, and that kind of cost him the duel. When Demi decided to create that distance and try to get maybe a reset going, instead of chasing, Karsus just sat there and took a couple ticks of mana. He just sat there and took a little drink. And I feel like that helped a lot because if we looked at the mana pools at the end, Karsus had maybe enough for 1 or 2 more spell casts, and Demi was completely
I'm
So, good
glad you
heads-up
brought
play
that
for that.
out. Yeah. That might have made that difference, that little bit of extra resource there. And so this does look to be probably it's either deep fire or
It's like Elementalist. I can inspect him.
oh, that'd be great if you had the
Show me.
the add-on to see the spec.
Yeah, so it looks like he's going. Yeah, he's an Elementalist mage. I could send you the screenshot.
Oh,
You
that'd
can
be
post
that'd
it
be
up.
that'd be lovely.
Yeah, here you go. Post it up on stream right now. I sent it your way.
Excellent.
Yeah, he's definitely an Elementalist mage. He goes down to get Ice Block and
Yeah, I
all
like
the
it.
fun stuff.
So we don't have the Pulm Pyro, nothing for that extreme burst. I've actually found that Pulm Pyro druids do quite well. Pulm Pyro druids. Pulm Pyro mages do quite well versus druids in general because then there's that burst potential. Weirdly, that's one of the few matchups I feel like Pulm Pyro does better than a Deep Frost mage, but
Yeah, and connecting on the Druid in a big way is pretty much the way any caster wins this matchup. Especially catching him in a grenade, it can set you up for a really, really good burst, and that's what you want to get. If you take it to the long game, you're probably going to lose. We do see the Frost Reflector comes out. Big reflect there. Well played, my friend. Blinks away. Says, I feel shame.
Sex always pulls out these reflect plays. He almost baits out the long frostbolt. And then pops reflector, knowing and just
Another grenade
baits
whiff
it.
there. Moonfire coming in. Going for the poly. Big impact stun. Goes for the blast wave as well. I don't think it's going to be enough. Cone comes out as well. Blink has been burned. I think this is pretty much just said and done for the Druid. Well played.
Yeah, ties it up 1-1. Oh, sorry, that's not Sex. What am I saying? I'm seeing a Druid. Demian, actually. I'm seeing a Druid. I assume it's Sex at this point. Demian pulling out the reflector plays too. It's just Sex with the damn reflector. He's giving that Fields PTSD. He used it against me too many times in the World PvP meta. Demian also another player that's going to be using it very well. And I like how he spaced himself, almost saying, "Hey, put the long cast down." Absolutely lovely.
I
Good
like
Druid
the way
play.
that he timed it because at that point, there was no option for the mage to cancel. It was pretty much 80% cast, popped it, perfect timing, enough, and then obviously forced the mage to panic. Decided to just blink away, try and go for a reset, but he followed up immediately with the Moonfire, kept the pressure down. So really denying all of Karsus's options there at the end, which I really liked. That's very well done.
Yeah, good duel, and this will be the deciding factor here.
I would like to see one of these grenades connect from the mage. It's going to help him set up his burst combo a lot easier. I think one of the problems he's having right now is he's struggling to connect with that grenade.
Right, you're absolutely correct. Especially with the grenade, you can even if you feel that you're taking too much pressure and you do manage to land a grenade, you can get a poly off as well and reset yourself. Obviously, druids, if I'm not mistaken, in classic they can also shift polys. I don't know if that's true or if that's just retail, but
yeah, definitely one of the disadvantages here in this matchup. Mage is not going to be able to get those big resets off like he can versus all the other classes out here. Right in the chaos, this one's happening. Right in the middle of the
mosh pit.
Yeah,
we do
players.
see the servants come out. I don't necessarily like the timing of that servant trinket because they're wasting so much time. Does get the grenade in the cone. There's a big bash coming in. He decides to block. Interestingly enough, Scorch coming out now. Damage coming in. Druid's pretty much just shrugging all this off right now. Big blink there. Blast wave does connect into cone as well. Now the pressure's coming in. NS Fort.
He did get a fair bit of that damage in on their druid friend here when he was out of bear form for that blast wave and stuff, because that was when he was going to NS. So I don't think he got to soak all that up with that extra HP of the bear form. Frost Nova comes down. Kona Cold's going to
A lot
follow.
of damage.
Both players blinking.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
The sapper
Finishes
play,
him off with
baby.
the sapper charge. I like that.
it. I like it. Also to note, Karsus did instantly blink Demi's net. We didn't even see it land on the mage. I saw it airborne, it touched him, and then Karsus just blinked towards Demi at the beginning. Something to note there. He did manage to use a lot of engineering tricks to get that win, but Demi taking it there.
Yeah, good duel. I like the blink right out of that. I agreed with the ice block too. It was one of those where it's like at least he got off a couple of dots from himself and he got out of the bash and he wanted to continue that pressure on the druid, which is probably the right play. As soon as you give the druid breathing room, it feels like they'll take control of the duel. So I think he played that one right, but in the end, it was a close duel, but Demi is going to take it. Man, another druid moving on. We might end up having a druid versus druid finals at this point, friends. We might be in for a long one.
You might want to take a look at my prediction.
Are you 100% right so far on your predictions?
He's not.
No,
right.
I've missed one, unfortunately.
I've missed 2 so far.
Oh goodness.
I have all my money on Verk.
So this is going to be a best of 5 now. It happened kind of quickly here, but we are in the semifinals. So this is going to be 2-1. Moving on. The next matchup is going to be Zella versus Verk. Oh, yeah, we get our Druid versus Druid semifinal after this one. It isn't going to be the finals. It's going to be the semifinals. It is going to happen. But this next one is going to be Zella versus Verk, and we're going to get to see another Warlock versus Warrior matchup, which it is a matchup I actually enjoy. I'm still surprised as all hell that Verk took the win in the previous match versus Spirit, but I'm glad to see a Warrior go further in the semifinals here. And honestly, if he is able to beat Zella here, they do pretty well versus Druids. So I actually like where the Warrior's sitting in this tournament in terms of we might actually see Warrior take the win.
It's going to be pretty much the same song and dance for our Warlock friend here. Same game plan, actually same gear as well. So pretty much going to be a replay of his prior. I would like to see, and we see the Voidwalker is out still. I like the way he's got the Voidwalker positioned away from himself as well to prevent the cleave damage. It's probably going to end up getting sacrificed within 0.1 seconds of the fight starting.
True.
But either way, one thing I would like to look for here is getting that Death Coil off before Mortal Strike goes. If he does decide to spend Rage on Hamstring, for example, or he doesn't get a crit, he might not necessarily have the Rage for Mortal Strike, and that's your opportunity to coil and get good value out of it. Hopefully we see something along those lines. But either way, I still think Warlock is favored here. It's going to be a tough matchup, though. This Warrior is very geared.
Very true. Keep in mind also the Warrior's not undead, which is a Warlock's
Indeed.
kryptonite, right? So
Indeed. We do see him going for the 2 one-handers here. No, never mind.
He switched back.
to
He was
two-hand.
trolling.
All right.
Immediate sacrifice.
You guys are right.
Mortal Strike is up. Just the Shadow Reflector. No, he coils himself.
Oh no! The big reflector play, and you got to guess versus the Warlock. That's big enough. That's gonna win it 9 times out of 10 when you reflect a coil. Maybe not 9 times out of 10, but you're gonna see that win afterwards. And that is a hard one. You can't really. In the Druid versus Mage matchup, the Druid almost can bait the Mage into long casting a Frostbolt, and you get this choreographed attack, and you have time to reflect it. But versus the Death Coil, and especially versus a melee when they're on you like that, you just kind of fire it off, and the melee is used to that in a lot of ways. But a lot of it's just guesswork. He does know that he's putting a lot of pressure on the Warrior, and it's got to come out. So he was, he did have that comfort in mind when he went into the fight, knowing that it's probably going to happen pretty quick. But either way, I like what I see there. It made the duel.
The big thing about being a Warlock, and this coming from myself who does play Warlock, and this is less apparent in retail since I'm a retail PvPer mostly, but when it comes to any instant spell cast that you can get gypped on, in this case Death Coil, and you know how most Warriors play, the moment they see that sack, they're expecting you to Death Coil. Because you want to create that distance, you want to keep that shield as long as you can, and you want to be able to start kiting with your dots. What I usually do is I just start pumping fire spells into him, and we saw the Shadow Reflector go off, and I think Zella had enough time to realize the Shadow Reflector went off, but he might have just had the nerves. He might have been shaking a little bit and just fired that Death Coil off to try to create space. At that point, you just kind of have to let your shield get eaten, try to kite it to the best of your ability, and once you see that Shadow Reflector pop off, boom, Death Coil into a full fear, and then take it from there.
Yeah, I think it was a panic coil. I do like trying to bait out the reflector, and again waiting out on that shield. It is just gone so fast. That is my only thing I'm seeing right now is the shield is there and it is gone in the blink of an eye. It does probably absorb a decent amount of damage for the Warlock in the end, but at this point I don't actually see a pet down for the Warlock at the moment. I'm not sure what. Perhaps maybe he's out of shards or something.
If that's possible, maybe deciding if he wants.
He has the Succubus. I saw him summon the Succubus. So it's
He's
definitely
sacrificed.
Oh, okay.
No, not sacrificed. It's summoned. It's just in stealth right now.
Oh, understood. Okay, yep.
Yeah.
I like it. I think I was wondering that when we went
Very
into
sneaky.
this duel
Very
if
sneaky. I was
he'd
looking
switch.
for the Voidwalker again.
Here, I'll do. I hope there's no people sniping, but I'll wait. Where are you? Meet.
They very well might be listening, so maybe not the best idea to point
Yeah,
it
perhaps
out.
not.
Here, I'll give it to you then. Oh, you're too low level. I can't give you Detect Greater. But I know where the Succubus is.
So it looks like the game plan here is to lock him into the Seduce and try and get a Fear out, Berserker Rage being the only obstacle there. So he has to get through Berserker Rage. I would like to see a coil into Fear, get the Berserker Rage, survive if he can, and then get the Seduce off once Berserker Rage is broken. But we will see. I predict that the Warlock will die rapidly.
I like the try with the Succubus. The Voidwalker didn't quite work out.
He just raised cheese there. He went to go smack Sex to get some rage.
Perfect. Yeah,
And pop his battle shout. I like it.
I like it. Using his surroundings here.
Hamstring
here come-
applied.
there
Oh,
it is.
hamstring not applied. Big.
Ooh, that is.
There's the first
Big.
game.
Caught him out of. Oh my lord.
Question.
Wow.
He has
Does
a
What
lot
does
of
it do?
time here. He has a lot of time here. Here's gonna looks like it's probably gonna be a fear. Yep.
Oh wow! And this is a whole new game. Now he gets a full setup. I want to see a Shadow Bolt come out here. Blood Rage has been popped. Now he's gonna re-seduce. He does fear the. Wow! What a fear
Huge
from the
fear.
warrior there.
Hamstring is gonna come out finally, and then there's gonna be a couple big crits. Zella's gonna be able to get the Death Coil off this time. Gonna try to dodge. I would have liked to see a DR fear there. There goes the Shadow Burn, but it's not gonna be enough. Zella is gonna get executed
no.
down with the big crits. Oh no, we lost our co-caster.
I have to bear it to the
J-
Pirates once again.
Here's a question for y'all. Does Mortal Strike prevent healing from Runecloth Bandage?
Oh.
If I'm not mistaken, yes. All sources of healing are nerfed, but certainly for Healthstone and potions as well.
Very interesting, because I wasn't sure if that was the case or not.
It does, according to your chat. Okay.
Okay, interesting, because that made a difference. That made a difference there at the end. He got the
his
Mortal
health
Strike.
was not going back up, yeah.
So
It's very slowly healing.
interestingly, we didn't see the hamstring right off the bat, so Zella was able to get away, but he did get the Mortal Strike, so there was a little less healing. So maybe it made the difference. Who's to say if it would have been different if he had hamstrung instead of Mortal Struck? But Mortal Struck might have been the way to play it. Just how that panned out, I'm not sure.
Yep.
It was a really unfortunate situation for the warrior there. That's like the worst case scenario, getting caught out of stance there. And I would have liked to see the Warlock take a little bit more of a burst opportunity instead of layering the dots. By the time that the dots started ticking, his fear had broken, and the warrior immediately feared the second Seduce, which was perfectly well played. And he was just barely going to get out of range too, and he got it at the very last second, arguably winning him the entire match. So yeah, really well played.
My main issue here is, yeah, I'm looking at Zella's spec right now. They are running Notharian's Tier and Toep. They do have the improved Curse of Exhaustion talents. They have 3 points in it, and
Yeah.
I didn't see an amplified Curse of Exhaustion at all in any of those duels, especially the second one. It was a pretty big crutch that you could have leaned on as a warlock, especially after you got that Seduce. First dot you put on, improved Curse of Exhaustion. Then you have time to layer your dots, and you have times to pump a
Agreed.
Shadow Bolt
Yeah.
or two, right? Before he gets even in intercept range.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I like
yeah,
the critique.
especially if you can maintain the dead zone well. Maybe Aftermath would have been a talent to consider for this. But with the amount of, honestly, when you're playing Shadow Weaving, improved Curse of Exhaustion, I suppose maybe that's not the right way to go. But either way, I mean, it was a tough matchup for him, especially running the Succubus there. It's just so much damage you're going to take, especially from a warrior that's sword spec with rank 14 weapon. The odds are that you flop are pretty high, but still a very close match despite that. So we'll see what happens here.
And this is a best of 5. So
Yep,
this
best of
is
5, you're absolutely right.
it's possible. It's possible. Zella has an uphill battle, but it could happen. It gave us some
reverse
time to
sweep.
talk about that. Yeah. Wouldn't be the first time. I really like the idea of he's gonna get his battle shout out here again. I love it. And this is nice. The dueling flag's gonna come down, so they won't have to murder each other because they are the same faction. We had a lot more alliance duelers than we had horde duelers today, but a couple did show up. That's for sure. Not a lot of rogues here today.
Do we have any rogues?
No, we had 2 sign up, but unfortunately neither came. A little bit disappointed by that. I love seeing rogues duel. I feel like there's many classes where it's the same case, but it's very high skill cap, and both of the rogues that showed up were.
There's Diamond Flask off the rip. Shadow Reflector's gonna get popped early.
Big reflector
Zella
there. He's
just
got to
gonna try
wait it
to do
out.
this.
Looks like the pet's going to seduce itself.
There it
No,
is.
seduction does come out. Beautiful.
Oof. Hamstring this time.
Oh,
Breaks early, unfortunately.
yeah, that's gonna be all she wrote, I think, with the early break. There's Curse of Exhaustion. It's gonna be too little, too late. Unfortunately, that Seduce getting heartbeat resisted is gonna be terrible for Zella there. And we saw he didn't have any time to make any distance, and
Yeah.
you were just
Even
getting
with the
swung
rocket
away with
boots
that
being
Claymore.
used at the end there.
That Diamond Flask really does provide quite a bit. I like seeing that usage. I can't say I've seen that in a lot of tournaments that I've played, or a lot of that I've casted.
And this warrior defying all of my predictions.
I had him. He's still going. He's my. You want to laugh? Go to my predictions right now. I have him. I believe I have him winning the entire tournament.
He's on point. He's like
Yep,
on
I do.
track to right now. He's gonna have a druid to fight, and I don't think they do that badly versus druids. So this is gonna be a druid versus druid matchup. We get your casting voices ready, lads, because this one could take a little bit of time. This is
All right, so
this is one
Oh,
too
go
where
ahead.
we almost need to see. We might need to see a slash roll from either player, and I don't know how we would do that to see who gets the opener first.
Well, we would have to have Sex roll and then tell you in Twitch chat, and then Demi would roll, and then we would already have his roll.
Sex is technically even streaming this right now. So
we
if,
could see his
maybe
roll.
yeah, we could
Right.
see this. We could see the slash roll. I could invite Demi to group, and we could
Or
have.
maybe the way to do it would be to just see who gets the opener in the first round, and then you alternate from there.
That could be fun too. Well, he rolled a 40. Let's do the roll. Let's do every other from there. Otherwise, maybe you'd find that they just not find each other in stealth. Although sometimes it is fun to see people hunt each other out in that stealth, and depending on how
Yeah.
aggressive they can get. Let's do it for the hell of it. Let's do it for the hell of it. Let's just roll with it. This is an on the fly type fun tournament. Let's just let you both start in stealth. Whoever gets the opener gets the opener. If we don't find each other in a 2-minute time span, then we'll rethink that strategy. But for this one, let us just good luck to both players, and then whoever ends up getting the opener, we'll let the other druid get the opener for the next one. I like that. I like that for fun. Just try something different.
Hilarious. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done it this way, so I like Milksteak's thinking. Let's see if Dragon Dad, Dragon Dad has a good idea here. Okay, so we're gonna start, and both players in Viz here, probably looking for each other. I'm not sure. Probably both of them do have that improved stealth, so it might be hard for them to find each other in the cat form. We might end up regretting it. I do see Demi. I see him crawling around here. He's looking. They're looking for each other right now.
Oh, I can
once-
see both
once
of
the-
them because human racial's OP.
The good news is that once one druid does get the opener and the fight actually starts, my firstborn child will have graduated.
Oh shit. Folks just walking past. I'm sure that some have kind of congregated here as they saw we were doing some sort of event. Both looking for each other. This is the risk you run by doing double the invis looking for each other. Technically, this is how we do with certain like rogue matchups. If it's like a best of 5 and they're 2-2, and then the last duel. This is traditionally kind of what we would do, and then one ends up getting the sap. Now we'll see though if the stealth is too powerful and they coincidentally go in the wrong direction. That might have been a mistake. Hip Hop Dragon Dad may have led us astray here.
No, the real play here is to come out of stealth and heal yourself, and then bait the other player into opening on you. You've got hot zone.
Oh, here we go.
There it is.
And it begins.
The fight has started.
I think Sex got the opener. We might have to clarify that one. They're both skeleton druids. I'm not exactly sure. The fairy fire going down onto Demi, and does he return the favor? It doesn't look like it, so that there is going to be the armor reduction onto Demi, not Sex. That might make a little bit of a difference here, but they're about half, equivalent HP here, about half as they're trading blow for blow. The sapper comes out
as well. Big
No match
back.
death ray from
Oh,
Sex. Can he get it off?
Oh, he says later, nerd, and he puts down the bash. He winds up the gnomish death ray. I love it. It's cheeky. He risked it. He was so low that could have easily gone wrong, but he risked it for the biscuit, and he gets to eat his lunch. Whew.
I thoroughly enjoyed watching that. That is how Druid versus Druid should always go.
I'm glad they were so fucking aggressive there, because sometimes you don't see it, where that'll be the case. And I'm not exactly sure. I want to say Sex got the opener there. I'm sure that they know better than us, and then they can, the opposite, the other can just get the opener then this time. And I'll ask Demi here. He got the okay. So Sex gets the opener here. It was too much Druid on Druid action. If anyone wants to see too, from Sex perspective,
He is streaming. Yep.
he is streaming as well. Another content creator here, really good Druid. Demi's too. I've never seen Demi actually duel myself. And they're holding their own in all of these duels. I'm happy to see that.
Demi's also extremely geared, running Locamere in the main hand, Pure Elementium Band. Got some pretty thick gear over here on Demi. He is going to be running the Cornerstone Grimoire at this time with the Gnomish Net and the nifty stopwatch, though. Going to be interesting. There is the opener from Sex. Demi's still out of form. The Barrow Peasant is going to come out to shift into bear form now with the Feral Bash. He's going to be able to create some distance now for Demi. He's going to hot himself up. Here comes Sex now on the chase. And the Peasant colors are actually doing work. Travel Form's going to come out here, and here comes the Moonfire spam from both players.
I don't know if technically Demi was ready. It looked like he was fishing for Noggin Fogger, but he's doing just fine considering. Now, one thing to note is the Fairy Fire is on Demi, but not on Sex, and I really think that makes a difference. And it might be a spec differential thing. We might want to look at Demi's after this and see if he even has the Feral Fairy Fire. And he still could be applying it in regular, non-druidic form, too, if he wanted to. Into bear form, goes into the bash. No cheeky trinket plays this time, just going for some good old-fashioned damage. The beat down. And good duel. Sex takes duel number 2. Very fast pace. I am not used to this for Druid duels.
Yeah, I'm used to everyone playing the forfeit line and just Moonfire spamming each other till they die. That's what I usually expect when I hear about Druid duels.
This is more exciting to me. I like how aggressive both of these Druid players are.
It's very refreshing to see. At the end of the day, I have literally seen in tournaments Druids decide this matchup by doing a slash roll.
It nearly came to that one of the tournaments on Hen House. It was pretty painful. I tried my best to cast it as seriously as I could for the first 5 minutes or so, but
I'm sending you his talents through Discord for Dominion.
oh, excellent. Here, yeah, I should have that. Is that? Do you have
It's details.
details? I should just enable that. I appreciate that.
Yep. So we do see, yeah, he is running Nature's Swiftness here, pretty deep into balance, as a matter of fact.
Ooh. You'd think we'd almost see more Moonfire spam just as a result. Maybe I have no idea. I personally like the idea of trying to do more with Boomkin as far as pushing that in end game content. I know there's a lot of memeing with it, but I find the concept fun. I'm just gonna need to be friends with a mage and to get free water and a druid to innervate me, and I get double the amount of innervates. I don't know.
We will see the handshake here from these two druids. Truly an entertaining matchup in the meme sort of sense. Kind of like, you ever been in line at the DMV and the person in front of you can't stop farting?
Man, the DMV is more efficient now, so it's been a while since I've had to face these problems.
Trust me. Sort of entertaining in that sense, but either way, we do see one skeleton druid standing, and the pounce does come out. Good opener there. Pretty standard. Both Moonfires coming out, Insect Swarms coming out, and we do see an early trinket. Grenade connects as well. This is great, actually. Looks like Sex is going to have a little bit of an issue here moving forward. There's a lot of pressure, actually, at the moment. counters with his own skeleton trinket here. I do like to see that NS. That was a good
Double
time
NS
there. Yeah. So, and now we are looking at the mana pools more than we're looking at the actual HP at the moment.
Very true, because both of them are capable of healing themselves back up. They don't have the NS, but plenty of time to regrowth. Can always throw the bashes out. I think both players do have the bashes as well. We're actually seeing a lot of cat form from Sex, and this is something I see from him a lot, actually, more than I see a lot of other druids.
Innervate comes out from Dominion, and I do like that he took advantage of the extra rage he had in bear form and just converted it as much as he could. I'm not necessarily convinced at this point that he can get himself back up from here.
Oh, there's the charge. Perfect.
Wow.
Good heads up play from Sex to create that distance to feral charge and interrupt the regrowth. That's pretty much what won him the duel there. Sex is actually unreal.
Yeah, feral charge.
He is. I'm legit scared of Sex in the world. He's a fucking scary druid.
He's running away. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's funny. You know what his memory of me was during the world PvP meta? Exactly that. He's like, you fucking always rocket helmeted me and ran away in for Alice. I was like, damn straight, that walk back from the flight point's a bitch.
I'm curious now that I'm seeing a warrior here with Thunder Fury. Are legendaries allowed?
Oh yeah. If anybody happened to have them, hell yeah. No one did, but no, yeah.
Imagine a rogue with Thunder Fury in this tournament.
Oh, I'd love to see something like that. I'm really sad we didn't get to see Kimmy duel, because they're great. They're great rogue. But I'm sure in future dueling tournaments I'll be able to get them in on it. So I want to do more of these. I think what I need to do is maybe not plan them out for a month ahead of time, because I think what you sometimes see is people sign up in the beginning, and then by the time that month comes around, plans change or whatever happens. So I don't know what the magic number is, 2 weeks or what it is, but more of these to come.
Appropriate.
Yeah, I think you're right. We'll end up planning another one of these probably in the next couple of weeks and get something going again.
Sex is making me want to roll a druid alt. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Druids are incredibly strong in 1v1 matchups. Some matchups obviously more favorable than others. But the one thing I really like about Druid is that they do have a tremendous amount of control. And you can see that in the form of their mana pool. In this particular matchup, the control comes from who is managing their mana more efficiently. Unfortunately, that's sort of a double-edged sword when it comes to this, because you can play too efficient and fall behind in HP, and then you're obviously vulnerable to feral charge in this matchup. So what I'd like to see is more baiting out of the feral charge there, maybe try and fake a couple of those regrowths when you're at a higher HP total. And if the cast goes off, great. You're basically resetting at that point. Both players use Innervate pretty late as well. I did also like seeing, I think it was a Sapper charge from Sex early on, just trying to put the pressure on and force him into defensive mode. And we saw that actually throughout as the duel played out. Because he was ahead, his opponent wasn't able to play as efficiently as he'd like to. So.
Oh, well said, Milksteak. I think sometimes you just got to go for those regrowth plays, even though you might be scared of the fake cast. Because sometimes if you're fighting versus somebody that's good at predicting fake casts or looking for fake casts, you end up fake casting so many times that you don't even have time to get the cast off because you're too pressured. So sometimes I like just the idea of going for it for sure. And we are going to do the the bronze matchup first, friends. So this will be Zella versus Demi first, if you guys are ready to step back into the arena, and we'll do the finals then lastly.
All right. So is this the first? Yeah, this is the first time we're seeing Warlock versus Druid. That's for sure.
Yeah, and
obviously has the Fell Hunter out.
And I think that's a good call. We're seeing Zella being adaptive with their pet play, trying different things if something's not working for them. I like to see that. Fell Hunter, great for just getting rid of those dots off of himself. More likely getting rid of the hots, but you never know when he's going to get rid of a cheeky Moonfire or Insect Swarm from himself. There's always that possibility when things come down to the wire.
It's pretty huge in this matchup as well against a Druid who just wants to create distance from you. You use it for the complete opposite reason you would use it against a warrior. As a warrior, you use Curse of Exhaustion to create space. Against the Druid, you're going to use it to close the distance, because Druids are extremely quick, and that Curse of Exhaustion is definitely going to help up.
Thankfully, the Druid can cleanse it off himself if he needs to, as well as just shift it. But
very true.
Interesting that it's interesting in those niche cases where shifting can get like a magical effect off of you or a curse off of you. It's interesting in that way. You'd think there'd be that possibility that it wouldn't take that particular slow off because it's an applied magic, but it's the same case as any other slow, which is interesting.
It is one of those things where you can't shift too much. Obviously, I would go for just the remove curse on myself. It's probably what we're going to see here in this matchup. This is again just going to be one of those. The Warlock can actually play the attrition game here, so long as his drain life isn't the sole thing that he's relying on. I want to see good uses of Healthstone here. I want to see Death Coil at the proper time.
So
I want to
the
see a
Druid-
lot of fears.
The
Oh,
Druid is going
yeah,
to be getting
yeah.
the opener, correct?
Yeah,
To
Drew.
start the duel?
Yeah, Druid's getting the opener. Sorry, I missed that Zella
It's
as
all
well.
And I want to see more than anything else. I want to see this Warlock burn this Druid's mana. I want to see a lot of mana drain from this Warlock here. If he does that, he can survive. There's not a whole lot of burst potential coming out from the Warlock, but
Oh, good call on his part. The mob up.
yeah.
I'll think of. I didn't mind this spot for the tournament, but I'll think of an even better spot. I love the girl. Okay, it is going to get started here. Opening up in cat form too. Make sure to get the rake down. We're not seeing a rip there. We see the rip too. So where those bleeds are coming out, goes with the standard Moonfire, and you're seeing the dots
Big
traded
death
onto the
coil.
Wow.
onto the
And
druid
I'm not
too.
sure if that was intended, but that was the most beautifully timed Death Coil I've seen in a while. Right directly after he used the cleanse from his Fell Hunter, the coil comes out, which is good. Shadow Reflector, he does fear. Oh my lord.
We're seeing some really good reflector play from Demi today. I'm loving it. And it perfectly timed right as the fear is about to go off. There wasn't a lot of like anticipation Zella could have done where that was concerned. Both players are getting very low. The Moonfire spam starts to come out, and Demi is going to take duel number 1 in this best of 3.
Wow. I'm not sure if I saw the Hellstone get used there,
I don't think it did. I didn't see one either, to be honest.
but
Unless he used it
that would
early.
have won him that duel.
Might not have been the case. Maybe was just trying to out pressure him there, feeling very confident when he was getting him low, seeing red, seeing it blink, and just wanting to go for it.
If I'm not mistaken, Hellstone shares a cooldown with Grenade. So maybe he used a Grenade. I know that Grenade shares a cooldown with Whipper.
Wait, Grenade shares a cooldown with Ripper, you said?
It does, yes.
Does it really?
Either way, though,
It
that was
does
a really
not,
good
though.
duel.
Yeah, it does not. Hellstone. The only thing Hellstone shares a cooldown with is runes. Demonic
yeah,
runes
yeah.
or dark runes.
Yeah, I think Whipper and Healthstone do, and then Whipper and Mana Gem do for sure. Maybe even like you know what we haven't seen in this tournament either is a Spellstone with the Magic Absorb, which is another huge tool to use in.
I would absolutely be taking advantage of that right now if I was the Warlock. I think that I would run Spellstone in this matchup.
I think that could be handy, just having that extra cushion for the push-in versus all that pressure.
But we shall see what happens here. Druid's going to get the open momentarily. Although Paranoid, okay, he decides to open with the Moonfire.
He's going
Not necessarily where this Druid wants to be right now. Pretty much vulnerable to all of the dispels. And if the Warlock can actually manage to start getting mana drains off, it's even worse. We see now the Druid has actually already burned through about 60% of his mana. Death Coil at a good time as well. Really,
Death
really
Coil,
bad
the
for
Shadow
the
Bolt
Druid.
with Toet pop. That's going to be a lot of damage onto Demi. This Shadow Bolt is going to do some damage as well. The regrowth is going to manage to come out though. Zealous trying to
Spell
close
Lock.
the grab. Eliminate's going to come out here. Is going to get bashed, but the Fell Hunter is just purging the hots off of the Druid, and that's just huge.
He's still locked out on nature. He got spell locked. It was a good
Yep.
spell lock.
The Corruption is going to be taking 5% HP. Siphon Life's going to come out as well from Zella here, 3%. The regrowth's going to come out. Does he have the lock for it? He doesn't. He is going to manage to get it. No, he does get the Shadow Burn off, and that's going to be all she wrote for Dominion. A lot better play from the Warlock there. Obviously, Shadow Reflector not being off cooldown for Dominion is pretty huge for the Warlock, but a completely one-sided matchup on that duel.
Yeah. And you got to wonder, did it maybe come down to the opener? You know, he went with the Moonfire. He decided he just wanted to play from far the whole time. Knowing he couldn't reflect the Death Coil or anything like that. Maybe that was part of the decision making, but either way, he opted for an opener of just Moonfire. You know, there was a couple of openers I've seen from Druids in our past tournaments I'd hosted actually they'd open with what was it, gnomish cloaking device, and then a starfire, and that would actually just burst through an ice barrier completely. It was a great way to start versus mages. I've only seen that in a couple of cases, but it was used to very good effect.
Another great usage of that from the Druid's perspective here would be to cloaking device prior to him using Innervate, or immediately after using. It's a tricky play. I think that for the Druid here, what he's looking to do is he's looking to get that pounce opener for sure. In addition to that, he wants to get all of his dots up, and then he wants to start healing himself, and then he wants to go into bear form. If the Warlock tries to fear, he can Feral Charge, and if the Warlock starts to drain, then he just runs away. And that's how I would play it personally if I was the Druid, but we'll see what happens.
Keep in mind as well, Zealot is playing a SM Rune spec, which means that as long as he has Corruption up on Dominion, he has a chance to proc an instant cast Shadow Bolt, which is absolutely mental. It looks exactly like a Death Coil, right? So that might scare the crap out of a Druid, seeing that come at you, and then another Death Coil come at you afterwards. That's pretty much what we saw, I believe. I don't think he hardcasted the Shadow Bolt that we saw in the second duel. I believe that he had a Nightfall proc, and then he managed to send the Shadow Bolt and the Death Coil simultaneously, and that's what pretty much bursted Dominion down to about 20% HP.
He's deciding to stay with the Moonfire opening here as well. Corruption is ticking now, going for the Entangling Roots here. Interestingly enough.
He doesn't want to take that pet damage. Felt like he had an opportunity to get that GCD out. Let's see if it pays off for him here. He's avoiding a lot of the pet damage and maybe even some of these dispels if he happen to have Rejuve on himself, which he doesn't currently. Zella actually on the back foot here. They're going to have to pull something out of their butt if they want to win this one. And Death Coils comes out. They followed up with the Fear afterwards. Are we going to see him be able to get out of this? Both players at about equal amounts of HP. Zella's going to get that Hellstone out.
Good trinket there. Absolutely.
I like that he
does come out. There is a lot of damage coming his way.
That was the instant cast Shadow Bolt right there.
Yep. Sapper charge as well from Demi there.
Explosive end of this duel.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know who was going to win that one. Oh, well played, Demi. And I believe
the series continues.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about, how scary SM Ruin is in certain situations. If Zella, keep in mind, if Zella's running Spellstone there, sure, he can't use his Staff of Dom. He's going to have to put out his Mage Blade, which I know he has. But he is going to lose some spell power. He's going to lose some crit. But as Namtar just mentioned, it's going to allow so much freedom for the Warlock to just kind of self-heal or do whatever they want. And with SM Ruin, it's so scary playing against SM Ruin because you never know when you're going to eat an instant cast Shadow Bolt to your face. You just don't know. And we saw it there with Demi. He just got bursted from 60% to 20% in one global. It was ridiculous.
That's a fantastic point. One thing I'd like to point out, though, is that Demi there actually reserved his NS. First of all, he waited to make sure. So I'm not sure if this pet is auto-casting. It seems like he's got the pet on auto-cast Offensive Dispel. But either way, he waited until after it went off, then NS'd himself, which is always good practice. You do not want your NS to get eaten. No. And then immediately just having it ready in the event that you do get that Nightfall proc, it is important because that Shadow Bolt comes in. As you mentioned, with the spell damage this guy's got, we're looking at, upwards of whatever, 2,500 Shadow Bolts. It's not going to be a good time for the Druid.
You're absolutely right.
I also like the immediate trinket on the Fear from the Druid there and going into bear form. Because he knew he was. Oh, here we go. We see the Spellstone now.
He's adapting. That's what I like to see.
He's adapting. I like this.
Mage Blade. Yep, there it is.
I like this. It's going to give him a lot more freedom in the opener as well because those initial dots he's going to be able to just shrug off.
I'm not sure how that opened. Did he go with the Entangling Roots opener?
On the pet.
Yeah, very interesting.
Interesting. And it looks like I'd see now. Why not take advantage of this and just kill the pet?
He's running. It looks like 5-piece tier 1. It's going to be very hard to kill the pet with magic damage.
Oh, very hard. Yeah, the extra resistances. Yep,
yeah.
That's a good.
And extra stam as well. The pet is it's pretty much a duel against Dominion and the pet at this point. Zella's just kind of chilling right now, waiting for that Moonfire to tick off, and the pet is going to get Entangling Roots, and Dominion now this time is going to try to make space of his own.
The only downside to this line of play right now is that he is already at half mana.
Absolutely, but he's going to be able to sit down for a drink here. He's going to be able to get his mana back as the Siphon.
There you go. Good reset there.
Uzella brought back their pet, so the Druid does get some of those resources back here. So we're kind of just seeing a hard reset on the duel. The Druid might even get an opener again. He's sitting on the outskirts of the dueling flag now. He's not going to be able to get much farther away. And he does not opt for a traditional opener. Once again, just kind of comes right out and Entangling Roots the pet, and then starts putting the DPS on Uzella.
excellent trinket there, though. He did
There's
get
a
his
Toa.
Servants of Bara out. Oh my gosh.
Oh, the reflect for the
Ooh,
death
baby.
coil. Big reflect from Dominion. Zella's gonna eat his own Toept death coil.
Beautiful spellstone in response. Looks like he's going to be able to stabilize here from that. But wow, okay, we've got ourselves a match. Lots of
There it is.
pressure.
It's done. It's done. It was just so Zella's extremely intelligent. Waited for a Nightfall proc to then cast the Shadow Bolt first to try to bait out the reflector. Dominion, either reacting too late or just with the biggest brain in the entire game, waits to get hit by the Shadow Bolt and then use his reflector to then reflect a Death Coil, which pretty much chunked Zella down for about 40% of their health. Zella, though, holding that Spellstone in their back pocket, not even worried. Put the Spellstone back on and just pumped into the Demi. And that was just perfect play from both players. I do want to mention, I think Zella brought their pet back because it might have despawned. Because Zella was on top there where the Bloodsail Trader is. And Dominion was going for a rather far reset. I'm not sure exactly how much the range is for a pet to despawn, but I don't think Zella wanted to sit there and have to cast a 10-second summon a Fell Hunter.
Very true. That might have been a concern because he was pretty far away. And that would have pretty much meant a lose in a lot of ways, letting the Druid dot Zella up in any fashion. And I think more importantly, no offensive dispels on those hots. So that would have been a deal breaker for that duel if it had despawned.
I mean, and the reality of it is, with Druid dots, you know, it's very hard to eat through that spellstone shield.
Yep.
So the Warlock is free to do literally whatever he would like while that is up. Whether it be bandage, whether it be fear, whether it be burst, and we saw that he popped spellstone and then blew his face off. And I mean that's essentially what happened, and it works. Really good pet management there from the Warlock. Again, I like to see him adapting to the matchup, seeing that he's struggling with the open. And the Druid obviously doing well of his own. Good reflector plays overall. It's been close. And without Spellstone up for this round, if I'm not mistaken, it might be back up perhaps. But
I will tell you in a second. Give me a sec.
I think that's going to be the game changer here. And this,
I imagine if it wasn't up, he would switch back to his staff. So it looks like it's probably going to be up again.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's interesting that Druid's really going for an uncommon opener. And I think he's respecting the pet a lot. The entangling roots, using entangling roots almost every opener he gets here onto the pet, and then going to the Druid or to the Warlock afterwards. You're not seeing like the traditional cat opener. I think we saw one of these duels, but so he's really respecting the pet. He doesn't want to deal with it. He knows he can't kill it. All right, the duel's going to start.
We do see the cat opener there, and this is actually, Jeff, not to contradict you, but I actually really like this opener. Immediately forces the Spellstone as well. So this is good. All Demi needs to do right now is just create distance. There's not much he can do at the current moment.
I honestly, Pat, I agree with you. I think the cat play is the way to go. It just wasn't working for him. I think using the entangling roots on the pet is all fine and good during the course of the duel, and even using things like the Nature's Grasp to instantly root it. But I much prefer the common opener, like with cat and just going full on the Warlock. There goes the toe up, the death coil. It is going to connect. Just going into a full Shadow Bolt afterwards, trying to burst down the Druid. Nature Swiftest healing touch comes up, but he gets bursted down from full.
That's Essa Ruin, ladies and gentlemen. Keep in mind, Zella is probably. I'm gonna just inspect them. Did they? I think they put their Staff of Shadow Flame back on after they used Spellstone.
I like that.
And then they're running Toep, Neltharian's Tear, Band of Dark Dominion, which is 33 shadow damage, Ring of Spell Power, which is another 33 spell damage. They have 3-piece Nemesis, and actually not running 5-piece T1. Curious.
I need to take a shower.
Yeah.
That was an absurdly large crit from the Warlock.
Yeah, he hit I think 2,200
crit for.
About
And to be honest, it's heartbreaking to see because the Druid played it perfectly right. He did. Right.
He did it.
He just got global.
He got the full heal off. He was at full HP right before that.
Yeah.
But there was it was a crit. He had one crit and a shadow burn, and that was practically everything right there. And it was out of druidic form. So
100 to zip. The only thing I think he could have done there is after NSing go into bear form for the extra HP, he might have survived. And then from there maybe frenzied regeneration. But to be honest, when you get crit for 4,500 damage, it's just What do you even? You throw your hands up at that point, right?
Yeah.
So the Shadow Bolt crit for 2.2k, and then it's not the Shadow Burn, the Shadow Bolt, and the Shadow Burn. He was not sure, but it was probably another 1,000 or something at least.
So
it was like 3k
altogether,
in one global.
Yeah, 3.5k in one global. After popping your NS and going to full, and immediately dying as a result. That's heartbreaking to see. Honestly, I feel for the Druid on that one because honestly, I thought he had it. I really liked the way that he definitely saw better results with the cat form opener. Got his bleeds up very quickly, created distance, played the spellstone perfectly, waited it out, didn't suffer too much damage. His innervate didn't get dispelled. I mean, everything down the checklist of the do's and don'ts in this matchup. This Druid was hitting them all, and to see him go out to a nuclear Shadow Bolt, there's a part of me that just feels disgusted.
Oh man, that was good. That was a good
so
fight.
Apparently, Shadow Burn didn't even go off. It was just the Shadow Bolt.
Just Shadow Bolt crit was enough. Holy
I had Zella
shit!
check his combat log, and Shadow Burn didn't actually connect with Dominion. So the Shadow Bolt was enough to finish him.
I'm very interested to see what this Druid's HP is sitting at.
I can find out.
I'm a big fan of the SM Ruin in these duels. That's fun. I don't know if I've seen that.
It's definitely more entertaining than watching SL.
Yeah,
That's for sure. Because honestly, what I would love to see one of these days is someone go full Conflag Destro. Because the outplay potential with that spec is so high, and it's such an entertaining spec to watch. It's just very difficult to.
Okay, so Dominion's running 3.9k HP with his Shadow Resist set.
Yeah.
He's gonna send me a picture of his damage logs because he had 150 Shadow Resist and he still took 2.2k off that Shadow Bolt. That's ridiculous.
Jeez.
It is, yeah. So I believe that's the series, correct?
Yeah, yep. That's gonna be Zella taking third place here in the tournament.
Congratulations to Zella on that.
Yeah, well played.
Third place. Now we have our finals here. And it's not what I predicted. I predicted this finals to be Druid versus Druid. This warrior right here has defied every expectation that I've had.
Yep, the little dwarf.
Look at this man. First of all, we notice his sturdy male dwarf frame. Okay. He walks up to the priest and asserts dominance on him real quick and then pops battle shout. There is nothing that can stop this man. We see he has two hands. It's probably the worst looking hammer in the game. He doesn't care.
Well, when
he goes home and then bangs 14 or 15 different female. The opener has come out now, and we do see an Enrage plus the Diamond Flask now and Stone form. This is terrible for the Druid. He needs to be in bear form, and he is. Yep. Excellent play by Sek.
Yeah, trying to mitigate some of this damage with that thick hide. Sex is generally pretty good about camping that bear form, but we're still seeing the warrior pierce through that damage regardless. Oh, the bash is going to come down. The full regrowth hits, so he's not pressured to use Nature Swiftness, but that didn't do very much with Mortal Strike. He's getting an execute range. He doesn't even get a chance because he's using Nature Swiftness. There's too much damage.
He's so strong.
Cleave.
God damn, boy. You ate your Wheaties.
There's a little battle stance just for a little.
This is why sword specs just should not be in the game. We see the nonsense that occurs. That was an impressive display of damage from this warrior here. Very entertaining to watch, of course. The Druid really struggling with the Mortal Strike applied, even with NS. He did actually manage to get a regrowth off as well.
Did he get the NS too?
I believe he saved it, which if I were him, that's actually a pretty good call. This is going to be a long series, so maybe not necessarily use it in the... But I'm actually not entirely... I do not see NS on his cooldown tracker, so I don't think that he has used it. I believe it is available for this next duel.
Oh, do you have a cooldown tracker?
I do, yeah.
Oh, what do you use for that? That would be lovely.
I believe it's called enemy cooldown count.
I'm gonna thanks.
I'm gonna install that as well.
Yeah, enemy cooldown count. I'm gonna get that after the series here.
Omni. I'm sorry. You can also use Omni.
Omni CC.
And Omni CC.
Or Omni Bar, you mean?
Omni Bar, yeah.
Okay.
I think I have Omni Bar. I just don't have it enabled. I don't think.
I think I'm right there with you.
So what I would like to see from the Druid here is space. Perhaps maybe not take advantage of the stealth, of course, but out of stealth, I would be rooting this first thing, and then just creating as much distance as possible. Just don't get touched. If you do get connected on, you need to respond with Bark Skin and Bear Form. Wait till you have a full Rage Bar and then Frenzy Regeneration. You have multiple ways out, of course, with the Nature's Grasp. It's also going to be incredibly useful. But going for the Cat Form opener and then being on top of a Warrior when he comes out of Pounce, if you don't shift to Bear Form like immediately, you could get crit for like 1.8 to 2k just for being in Cat Form. So very tricky. He does decide to stay with it, though. Goes out, immediately goes for the root, and he gets it off. Perfect.
Wow. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing here. We're not. He's just gonna play the space. No, he went in for the bear form. He's like, hey, I got my dots out. I'm gonna go in bear form, soak some of this damage, try to get some melees of my own, gather a little bit of this rage, and it's working out for him.
I like this a lot, actually, because he recognized the health deficit at this point. He knows exactly how much damage he can take, and a bash on top of it.
Oh my
goodness!
The root there. That was the fastest trinket I've ever seen, and the damage comes out. And he goes.
Okay, I need to say something. Verk, for the beginning of that duel, was just sitting there stacking Sunders.
Oh man, and
Wow.
you felt it, and you saw that there at the
I
end.
had the Warrior targeted. I didn't see the Sunders. Oh my god.
He stacked 5 Sunders and then killed the Druid in 2 globals.
Jesus. And Sex, I've said it a couple times, but he's so good about being in bear form. And it was just that brief moment he was not. A lot of that DPS came down, and it came fast.
I think that it was a mistake for him to go back into bear form and push in hindsight, because initially I supported it. But I think at this point, he's now very well aware that if he's next to that Warrior for more than 3 seconds, this is like social distancing times 15 for this Druid right now. He needs to be like 15 memes away from this Warrior at all times.
And this is one of those matchups too, where when I look at it, I think to myself, the Warrior stands a pretty good chance. You know, this isn't some mage versus Warrior matchup where you just feel it's rock paper scissorsy. If anything, it's leaning in the Warrior's favor. I feel like if they stick on that Druid, they stand a pretty good chance. And this Warrior is great about just finding their burst window. He's patient. He's building his rage. He's getting the Sunder stacks down, and then it's very calculative.
Jeff, you're right, man. At this gear level, I think that it's a pretty even matchup. But historically and traditionally, man, I give it to the Druid every single time in this. I want to see this guy play less aggressive and more like a mage would play this matchup, where the whole goal is just gaining distance, creating distance. And not even necessarily trying to establish a dead zone, because it's very tricky if you get feared in that dead zone. And this Druid has very, very few outs for that fear, unfortunately.
I would like to note that he is wearing a spider belt right now. Our dwarf friend.
Ooh.
He did slap that on last minute. And
so that is a good call. That is a very good call.
That could be key here.
And no free action potion for this Warrior in this matchup. This is not a mage. Even with Spider Belt, I believe that you can still play around that. I want to see the same exact opener from this Druid. Pounce into an immediate Entangling Roots.
Yeah, I like that. You just don't have time to do more cat DPS. You don't have time to do as much as you would normally like to in that pounce window. I think that's the way to go. Very defensive.
This is a must win. This is a must win. And here it goes. He got it off. Beautiful. And then the Insect Swarm. Spider Belt comes out immediately. So right now he needs to get away, and he's doing exactly that.
Piercing Howl slowing Sex down a little bit.
Beautiful bash.
Yeah, good, preventing a lot of damage there. Making very I think that was a Nature Swiftness heal potentially. He was just feeling preemptively pressured before the big DPS comes down, and here comes the sword. He's getting close to execute range.
That's all she wrote.
Oh,
He's too strong.
That's just too much.
I just want to state that I had this guy winning the tournament. By the way, I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, great prediction.
A testament to your casting prowess. Congratulations to our Warrior for winning the tournament. And Sex is not a Druid to be underestimated. He knows what in the hell he's doing. So well played to both of these contestants on first and second place. Let's see if I can get my soundbite.
Congratulations, Verk, on the first Grobbulus Dueling Tournament. Congratulations, champion.
Had to give my round of applause. All right.
Really stepping up the production value over there.
Yeah, if only I would have had it ready in time, mate.
At least I'm not escorting you to the booty bay chest.
I would love to do another one of those videos, Milkshake. We got to do one of those one of these days, man.
That was some of the most fun I've had, man, making that video.
Yeah.
Wow. I'd like to get Verk in here for an exclusive winners interview if we could do that.
Yeah, Verk, do you have any interest in jumping in Discord with us and having us pick your brain just a little bit before the end of this?
I'd love to have Sex in here as well, if possible.
Yeah, Sex too. If you guys wanted to jump in here and we could ask you a couple questions, we'd love to have you. And I'll end up ending stream shortly after. We'll get you guys your winnings and we'll start planning the next tournament.
What was the final prize pool?
There was just my contribution, so $100 bucks. But
right.
divvy that up between the top three, and exciting stuff.
Congrats to everyone. So we got Verk in first, Sex in second, and Zella in third.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a Warrior surprisingly winning it all, a Druid in second, and Warlock in third. I think those were a little bit more easy to predict. But I took the gamble. I had my Dwarf boy winning it all, and I'm proud.
That was an excellent prediction. Honestly, this Warrior has defied my predictions every step of the way through this tournament. I would love to get in it. And just really, above all else, what a great little production this afternoon. What a treat this has been.
I couldn't agree more. I was a little worried when it first started. I was like, damn, 8 duelers. But to be honest with you, that still creates, what did that say? That was like 2 hours of casting still. Like, that's a lot.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's definitely still a good tournament, a good turnout regardless.
Yeah, that makes me so happy. Really, it shows me you really only need 8 for a solid tournament. Anything more than that is excellent, but that's going to be encouraging for me to just continue doing these in the future.
Jeff, I think our winner is actually in the general channel.
Oh, here, let's pull him in. Sex too. If either of you guys want to jump in to any of the channels, I'll move you in here. Move to Jeff Lowndes. Hey, congratulations.
Yo, what up? What up?
So,
What's going on, guys?
not much. It was an honor to cast your duels today. Very well played. You don't see a warrior taking these often. And in fact, you don't see him getting far in these often. So it was nice to see. So well done on that. What would you say your toughest matchup was today, or your toughest series was today?
Ooh, that's tough. See, I really wasn't expecting any of those mages to be fire, so that really threw me off. And so it made me, I guess, kind of worried for the race down. I have a lot of practice with Secties, and he's like absolutely sick. I got like a lot of crits against him, if I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
So,
you did. You
Oh, we
did.
noticed.
yeah.
If we can go revisit that mage matchup, actually, your initial matchup, I had you losing round 1 in my predictions. Very happy to see that you defied all of my predictions and ended up winning the whole damn thing. 2 very difficult matchups that you had to face. In addition to Warlock, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much a hard road through the whole thing. But adjusting your play style against a Fire Mage versus a Frost Mage is something I'm very curious about. So what were you thinking when you realized, oh shit, this guy's playing Elemental Mage or this guy's playing Fire? How do you adjust your play style?
Well, I mean, reflectors are off the table because this guy can just kill me without casting a single spell. So it's like, and I don't even want to waste, like, with the 15 frost resistance a reflector might even give me, right, on a Nova. So it's just like, I'm going to have to trinket one of these and have uptime, and then just hopefully I can burst this guy. I didn't actually have to use any nades. And then in the follow-up duel, I think I used Flask just for the extra strength to be able to hit him really hard, because I know he wasn't going to have barrier, and I ran Spider Belt.
We actually commented on that. I think it was Jeff that said that he really liked the usage of Diamond Flask there because he knew. Now, in the first duel of your first series, I noticed there was an immediate free action without any hesitation. And my eyebrows kind of raised there for a second because I'm thinking about Polymorph there. So without the free action potion in the Druid matchup, were you at all afraid about the distance that Druid was trying to create throughout the matchup?
Uh, big time, big time. Like I feel like everyone should just try and keep me at arm's length or 2 arms length or 3 arms length away. But sometimes it's just about like being relentless and like when I'm on them, like if I feel like they're gonna try and make that play, like it's about having a nade ready, it's about having a fear ready, spamming those hamstrings on the trinkets instantly. You know, scariest thing is getting pom polyed or rooted and having him just run off. But I mean, luckily I do have some tools to help me with that. I don't have anything for a polymorph, but everything else I've got answers for. I feel so.
Absolutely. Going back to your Warlock matchup, one thing that really stood out to me where I realized that you might win this whole thing. You had a beautiful fear on the Warlock pet. I think it was after you got seduced the first time. You feared the pet at damn near max range, if not max range. Why not just kill it instead?
Because that guy could. I mean, you saw in those other duels, like I could have just been erased immediately. So it's like,
Fair
like
enough.
I need to pump every ounce of rage I have into this guy as opposed to the pet. I feel like if I take the time to kill the pet there, like I get dumpstered. Um,
Fair. Yeah. Without Soul Link and the amount of damage that you also do yourself, by the way, I was thinking that just like a simple whirlwind auto attack might be enough to actually kill that thing. But you opted to
yeah.
fear it, which for me, I mean, and honestly, hats off to you because it won you the matchup. But in your history, when you're playing that matchup, because I'm actually very curious about Warrior versus Warlock, I tend to favor the Warlock. But without Soul Link, do you ever think that is there ever a world where killing that pet makes sense?
Sure. There is a world where that makes sense. In that situation, say he like, I mean, he could have netted me there, right? You know, like anytime I would get where like I literally just can't reconnect with the guy, then yeah, like I need to kill that pet. And in that situation, it was like I still have intercept, and I'm running him down. If I can just fear this pet and run him down at the bit, you know, at the line of the duel, because I think he was like right on the edge of the duel line.
Right.
Um, you know, like at some point I can corner the guy, and if I have the cooldowns like intercept and stuff to be able to get to him, then I'd much rather, with no soul link, I'd much rather just pump, you know.
Right. And in your final matchup versus the versus Sex, you had one play. I was actually targeting you, so I didn't see this. I believe it was one of our other commentators that noticed it, but you stacked 5 Sunders on him.
Yep. He did.
Oh yeah,
Damn, I didn't notice it either.
I didn't
it's
notice.
absolute must.
That
The
was
thing
in
is,
my
this
brain.
guy's feral, so it's
Yeah.
like
Right.
he actually takes no damage in bear if you don't have any sunders on him. It's he outtrades really hard. So I figured that out pretty quickly because I've dueled him a lot before, like I said, and I figured that out pretty quickly that the guy just doesn't die unless you get some armor reduction on him. Which I was like debating, like maybe I go Bone Reavers when I fight him, but I don't want to fish for procs. I'd rather just like slap on those sunders really quickly when I can, and then you know look for an opening.
Yeah,
That
like
makes
for
sense.
myself, I was looking at the duel, and you were swinging away, and I did not see Sex health going anywhere. And I was like, this can't make any sense. So then I actually looked down at my frames, and I was like, well, he has 5 Sunders on him now, so this duel's not going to last much longer. And lo and behold, what was it, 2 globals, I think, and you just deleted them.
Yeah, I mean you when the sunders are on and you start to whittle away at him, he's got to come out at some point, you know, and like that's your time. That's it, you know.
Yeah, very patient play on your part. Kind of waiting for your burst opportunity for that because Sex is pretty good about sticking in bear form, and you found that small window, and that Sunder duel in particular, where you were able to just lay down that damage in that with that very small opportunity that you had, which he doesn't usually
Yeah.
provide many.
And I'm certainly
Yeah, that's the thing. He like he never gives you openings. It's about making them yourself. Because like you saw in those like duels versus the hunter, like he never got scatter trapped out of form. Like the guy's
No,
beat.
right.
nah, not
And
one time.
I'm almost what's the rage investment like when you have to put up 5 Sunders? Is there a delay or a period where you felt like that maybe this isn't worth the rage to do this, or is it just like a hard absolutely this is the play, I don't care how much rage it costs?
Okay, so the third duel, I think I only got like 2 or 3 sunders on him. My goal is to get 5. Like if he's gonna give me the uptime to get 5, like I'm gonna go for 5.
Okay.
And it's fine. It's a fine investment because like most of the time he's gonna open up, he's gonna want to get some like some swipes or whatever. And I just berserker rage that. Like I'm not using it otherwise, so I may as well use it to gain extra rage because you gain extra rage from taking damage with berserker rage. So I'll use that and then stack sunders with the extra help from him. Actually,
That's smart.
That's honestly, yeah, I would not have considered that. So wow, yeah, just overall, man, it is fantastic to see a warrior win some of these. We've done, Jeff and I, how many independent tournaments at this point, and I think there's only ever been one other time, if not never, have we seen a warrior actually win the whole thing. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think one time at most. We never see you. On occasion, you'll see him do well, and you always kind of root for him. That was why the first duel I was like, you always kind of root for the warrior. It's the underdog in certain ways, but proven us wrong in that regard here today.
And you've definitely given me a new perspective on the Druid versus Warrior matchup. In fact, you've kind of changed my mind about who's actually favored in that matchup. So my hat's off to you, my friend. Does anybody? I don't know if anybody else has any other questions, but
We got Sex in here as well. Sex, good duels today. By the way, wanted to.
Yeah, man. It's a
wanted to
fun
mention
event. I like it.
Yeah, thanks for showing up. Always good with your. I think one thing that always sticks out with me when I watch your fights is the reflector plays are always on point. And Demi had some good reflector plays too, but you're as per usual, you didn't disappoint where that was concerned. Is there any particular matchup where you struggled in particular? Or what was your hardest duel today?
Well, versing is obviously the hardest, but it's like it's very bursty, very global intensive, and it's just very difficult.
Do you think the Warriors favored there? Because I'm starting to lean in that direction. I kind of was already there.
The player.
You think so?
Like 90% of players aren't going to do what he does, but there is like I don't know if you noticed, but I never use NS to heal because it doesn't heal for much with Mortal Strike up, right? So I try to use it to root instead. And basically there's this window where he can hit me, and it comes down to me being a Tauren as well, where he could get this extra long range on me. So it's just like, it's really hard.
One of the things that I noticed in your matchup against Verse, it was game 2, I believe, and game 3. You went for the pounce into Entangling Roots opener, which I really liked, actually, because I think the first duel you went for the full bleeds and get your dots up. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just going off my own memory. But is there any opportunity for you to create distance outside of that opener? Once he's connected on you, where do you go from there as a Druid?
I used to torture him with getting bear charges off, but he adjusted and got charges off on me this time.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
I mean,
what about?
I'll tell you, he fucking hates it.
And I'm a Horde player personally, so I don't see a whole lot of Druids opening on Warriors with Pounce because most are Orc and the resistance is high. Is there any, and you're obviously Horde as well, so I assume opening on an Orc Warrior is obviously a lot different than a Dwarf, but coming out of stealth and just rooting, where do you land on that?
Without the pounds?
Correct, yeah.
You could do that. I mean, I guess I'm kind of gambling for no reason because he is a Dwarf, so that makes sense. But I do like getting bleed damage up when I can. It's just the opener is really the root. The first duel, I just wanted to mix it up and make him forget about it. But
I like that, yeah.
The first duel, like, I am confident in dead zoning him out of the opener because there's less RNG with distance and what's it called, spell batching, so I'm able to scale it a little bit better. But like, I need to like sit in such a sweet spot, and it's really difficult because
Especially
Tauren versus spell batching is really hard.
Yeah,
so
especially
that's
as
just
Tauren.
the nature of it. But I mean, I just try to do my best. Like, I don't think those 3 duels really represent what most of our duels look like. Like, he definitely got me today hard, but it's usually more 50-50 than that.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
and
I
honestly,
never
from
really
where I
got a
was,
chance to get the offensive. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I never
yeah,
got that chance to get the distance on him today.
He even
So
mentioned he had
kudos to him. He's really good.
a lot of big crits today. He had mentioned, yeah, we saw that. There was just a couple duels where it was just sure the one where like the Sunders were stacked, you'd expect it to some degree, but maybe not quite as you know as hard as we
I mean,
saw.
Versing's a baller, man. Like, gamer's game, right? So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when it's that equal, like, I mean, 3 duels isn't gonna really tell the whole story, but at the
No,
same time, you got to perform when asked to, right? So he won.
Yeah,
Next
I'll be
time,
the first. I'll be the first to say Zekti's has beat me up a number of times. So,
and even where I,
but yeah,
oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
and he was talking about the feral charge thing. Like, oh my goodness! Like, I swear, like he would inch out his feral charges before I could intercept. Like, he did it so many times in a row. I was, oh, he's sick.
you start to create those rivalries during the World PvP meta. That's for damn sure.
sometimes I really wish I wasn't a Tauren. Like, I wish I was a Night Elf
Yeah.
because you feel the difference. Like, or even a female Tauren. Like, I wish I could recreate my character just because of the dead zone issue. It
I
it's
didn't really
hard.
think about that disadvantage prior to now. Like your hitbox is bigger. Like it's just in most cases you're well versus melee at the very least you're at that disadvantage. In almost all cases when you're trying to
And I mean,
kite.
it's not like an excuse. It's just something to like consider. Like, I'm adjusting to it, but it is, it's a big part of the matchup.
For sure.
It's like I
And
have to watch his weapon swing, and it's like, would I have to do that if I was another race? So it's like, shit. I don't know.
no, it's valid. It's worth bringing up 100%. I never even really considered the Tauren disadvantage where that was concerned. You always hear about it from the other angle where you're like, oh, the Tauren warrior has that extra reach and that's really working for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, even from where I was sitting watching those matches, it felt like any duel like you said, it was a 50. I didn't see any clear advantage one way or the other. It's just the way the duels played out, the damage that was coming in, and specifically the one duel where he managed to stack like all 5 Sunders on you. It was literally 2 global cooldowns, if not one, and you just
Oh yeah. I mean, that he does that to me. Like, that's not the crit aspect of it, and him one-shotting me is not the part that I feel like got me. It's just the little things with trying to create space is what is more frustrating. That's that's for me is more RNG. Like, he's gonna crit me and hit me hard because he's a good player and he knows how to scale it to his best advantage. Like, that's all skill based in my eyes. Some people don't think of it like that, but I mean, he's proven that he can do that over and over again. So for me, it's more about just creating the distance and making sure that that happens correctly. So
I actually want to chat quickly too about your Druid versus Druid matchup. Very explosive and quick. I liked that because I've had some really drawn out long Druid duels. And is that something where you guys have experience fighting each other and you're just both very aggressive players, or you just opt for less defensive posturing? Because I liked how explosive and quick those duels were because I've seen some long ones with Druid versus Druid.
well, you have to give him credit for not like spamming sleep. Like, I think if he spammed sleep, it would be closer because he could be able to reset, and I would be running like shapeshifting more than him.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I know you've noticed you've always really favor. Now I also noticed your nature swiftness today, and typically you run a more fair, straightforward, purely feral tree. Do you not? Are you heart of the
When I
wild nature
did
swiftness today?
when I did world PvP, I couldn't really do feral hybrid for a few reasons. One, on horde side, you have to deal with paladins, so the
Fair.
fact that they could dispel insect swarm and moonfire, and you do less damage in feral form makes feral hybrid harder. Also, during the world PvP era, the gear available, like your int pool, really scales back your damage. So it like the gear, like the blue gear and like your first few purples make it really hard to go feral hybrid. But once you start, getting some PvP pieces and you get a wide, array of stats, then you could go more to the ideal spec for me, which is feral hybrid. But I mean, it's not true for everyone. Like even when I played feral, I still played like a hybrid. I still stacked int. I still had my spell damage enchants on. So like, I mean, I get most of my motivation from Spo, and he ran feral hybrid the whole time. So it kind of depends on the player and like where you get your information from and who you look up to, right? And you try to just learn from them and come up with your own, aspect of it.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I like that. The stats, you just start scaling easier, and yeah, that seems a good way to look at it. Especially with being up against paladins, you have to take that into consideration. They're just going to dispel the Moonfire Insect Swarm like it was nothing, and effectively making that tree less effective.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a misconception that you think I'm full feral all the time. It's like I dueled you before as feral hybrid, and you thought I was full feral.
I really did. I thought you were full. I see so much of that cat form, and I don't know if I saw a lot of nature swiftness, but probably just wasn't pressured enough to where I was like certain you were full feral for probably a longer period of time than you actually were.
Yeah, I mean it was just mostly world PvP. Check out my world PvP video. That's full feral. But like since then, since Battlegrounds came out, like Altered Valley full feral doesn't feel that great.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So I switched, to my ideal spec at that point.
There's so much. People start getting more gear. People start getting more bursts. So nature swiftness feels more of a necessity at that point too. As people are getting more gear potentially. Is that fair?
I'm sorry. What was the end of that?
So do you think it's nature swiftness? You feel there's more of a necessity to that as people are getting more power level themselves as time goes on, and does that become more?
No, I think nature swiftness is amazing utility. Like in group PvP, I'm using it for. So everything comes down to efficiency in World of Warcraft. Like you want everything to just be as efficient as possible. Like it is a numbers game at the end of the day. So like I don't use NS to NS heal like more than half the time. Sometimes I use it to burst with Wrath. Sometimes I sleep a druid in a 2v1. Sometimes I root and then heal because like what's it gonna do for me if I just heal myself? I'm not actually changing the outcome of the match. Like
very true.
Sometimes it's better to root a melee and kind of pay attention to his cooldowns and get your the point is to kill him, not just NS and run away. So
very smart play. I don't know if enough druids utilize it for multi-use. It's just a lot of the time it's just standard nature swiftness healing touch. I think sometimes people forget that you have the option to do the cheeky the cheeky play of putting that instant entangling roots or hibernate like you said. I don't know if I've seen a hibernate play. I like the sound of that though a lot. We didn't see any fear beast or anything today or hibernate for that matter, I don't believe.
Yeah, I mean the Druid versus Druid matchup was fun because it looked like he liked being aggressive and so do I. So it's like that's typically how I duel Druids. I don't let it turn into this, Pally versus Pally matchup, so to speak. Like I had my Death Ray on and any burst trinkets that I could have on, and never innovated in that matchup because I always was like looking for that perfect opening, just paying attention to his trinket and his stun.
Well, really good play today. I'm impressed with how you guys did. So yeah, that's all the questions I've got.